Hi, Clutter Fairy fans. This is the Clutter Fairy Weekly for June 18th, 2024. I'm your co-host, Ed Gumnick, and I'm speaking with Gayle Goddard, certified professional organizer and owner of the Clutter Fairy in Houston, Texas.
Hi, everybody. The Clutter Fairy Weekly is the webcast and podcast that digs deep into the clutter that piles up between you and the life that you want to be living. We explore the habits and behaviors that lead to clutter, and we suggest strategies to slow the accumulation, reduce the collection, and comfortably manage the stuff we decide to keep.
If you're new to our Zoom meeting, we want to let you know that you can share your comments and questions via the chat feature, and I'll try to make sure Gayle addresses them before we move on to another topic. You can also use the raise hand feature if you'd like to ask a question or make a comment yourself via audio or video. And we are streaming the webcast live on Facebook as well, so you can ask questions and make comments there too, and I'll relay them to Gayle. We're going to start by talking about last week's Weekly Tittle, which was called Self-Care for a Positive Decluttering Experience. The assignment was to try one or more of our list of declutter-focused self-care suggestions. Let's hear from our participants in Zoom and on Facebook who tried to turn their decluttering frown upside down this week. Please let us know in the comments. Brenda shared her tittle report in a comment on last week's show notes. Brenda writes, I worked with the exercise portion of the tittle this week, putting items back where they belong. A lot of times these items did not have a regular landing pad, so the next question was, where would I look for it? Or where and how will I use it? This approach came in handy Saturday when I was looking for the tablecloth for canasta, as this was the first time the game was at my house since last summer. Players helped set up the table and chairs since these are stored under the stairs. I mentioned I had gotten a tablecloth to cover the split in the folding table. Skeptical looks from one person in particular. I swear you could eat off her floors. But it was most gratifying as I was able to reach in close to where the table had been to grab said tablecloth for its first use. Thank you very much for these timely tips I'm able to put into practice.
That is so exciting. I love that you grabbed the tablecloth right out just when you needed it. I bet that felt great. And my question is, did you smirk at her when you did it? I would have taken a victory lap in my head at that point. All joking aside, though, I'm sure it was less stressful for you to be able to just grab what you needed in that moment without having to stress over where the tablecloth was, especially when you have a group of people there helping you and generally creating chaos in your home. So it's always better if you can find what you need easily. So good job, Brenda. I'm super proud of you.
Connie reports, I just decided to follow the just leave whatever room I am in a bit better. And it was easy to do, a bit difficult to keep in mind to do.
Right. It is a mindset shift to, as you're walking away going, what can I take with me, or what can I straighten on the way by, or what can I stop for 3 minutes and do? That
Yeah.
does require a little training.
Well, what can you connect it to? Because in the tiny habits methodology we've talked about a lot. Dr. BJ Fogg has the tiny habits. He wrote a book called Tiny Habits, and there's a website, and it's always about associating a new habit that you want to cultivate with something you're already doing. So maybe it's just, I don't know if it's just the act of getting up out of a chair, maybe, whenever you stand up to leave the room. I don't know. I'd love to hear what,
Or if you
if
have
people
a if
have
you have a
other
habit of turning the
suggestions.
light switch off when you are leaving the room, if you're going to hit the light switch, then think, oh, I should have something in my hand too.
Yeah, what can I put away? What can I take out of here?
Mm-hmm.
She followed up, she added to that, I have been doing it here and there, but never very consciously.
Mm. Well, if you do it here and there and it becomes unconscious, that's okay. Just like we were talking about somebody last week that said that they realized that they had started cleaning and putting the dishes away without thinking about it. So it had become sort of their natural response. So
Right. But she'd been doing it, she'd had to do it very
consciously before that, yes.
deliberately for
Mm.
some weeks to get into that
Yeah,
mindset.
exactly.
Shout out to Charity, who's with us on Facebook and catching us live from Lower Mainland, BC,
Oh,
British
hi.
Columbia.
Thanks for joining us.
Okay, I think let's just get to our main topic, and I'll
Okay,
fill in comments as they come.
sure.
Leisure travel seems to be booming again. Industry forecasts indicate that vacation travel is likely to return to pre-pandemic levels by the end of 2024.
Ugh.
If you're not careful, though, the effort and inconveniences of travel can detract from your hard-earned fun. So today we're going to offer advice for planning, packing, and preparing for minimum stress, maximum fun vacation travel.
I just took 3 trips in 6 weeks, and that is way more travel than I'm used to. Two of them were actually business trips, and one was fun with my friends. And my stupid luggage didn't get put away for 6 weeks straight, and it was so annoying to have it laying in my bedroom on the floor. It's like I'm not going to put it up for a week and then take it right back down and have to repack again. That travel gauntlet with all the now normal air travel delays and hiccups reminded me of what works best when traveling. So I thought we could refresh the Clutter Fairy's advice to packing for a trip and hopefully lessen your anxiety when getting ready for your next adventure. So the first advice that I'm going to give you is you should think about where you're heading. Is it a crowded city or a very remote location? Are you going on a safari in Africa? So basically there's no supplies accessible, or are you headed to your hometown to visit family? The answer to that changes how thoroughly you need to pack. And just thinking about what type of place you'll be can help you plan and pack better. For 90% of the travel you'll do, if you forget something or you have an unusual need, your host or your hotel or the drugstore down the street can resupply you in a jiffy. There's grocery store and Walgreens and Target type stores all over the world. So unless you're camping in the backwoods somewhere off the beaten path, you can go to a store anywhere and find some solution to your problem. So just remember that, and don't worry so much about packing against all the probabilities that might happen. Just pack for your essential daily needs to get clean and dressed each day. Add a few regular remedies like aspirin and nausea medicine against a headache or a stomach ache. And then for all the other possibilities that might actually happen, you can shop there if they actually happen. Otherwise, there's no need to add the whole medicine cabinet into your luggage. My friend Karen travels with a CPAP machine, so she doesn't try to haul the distilled water with her in the luggage. She just plans to get to a store and buy some once she arrives. And it's easier to manage that way than hauling water in the luggage. I've traveled with her a lot. I've seen her do it many times. We arrive at the hotel and she's like, okay, I got to go out to the store to get distilled water. It's the first thing she does is Google and find the nearby store that allows her to do that. And sometimes because of where the hotel is, it's super close by and she can walk. And sometimes she's got to take an Uber to go get it. But the Uber can go and sit there and wait while she runs in, buys distilled water, and comes back out again. So it doesn't usually take up very much of her time, and it's that much easier to deal with than not trying to be lugging a gallon of distilled water in your luggage, because you can't regulate you can't buy in a travel size the amount of water. Distilled water comes in big containers. And you can repackage it, but then still you have to take water in your luggage, which seems like a bad idea just on the face of it. So she copes by, she has to carry her CPAP machine with her, but she gets the water on the other end, and it's working well for her. The next thing in terms of planning is to start your packing a few days out, so you don't have to do it all in one go. If you start 3 days out, you can pack your toiletries one day, you can pack your clothes and shoes the next day, you can pack your electronics and carry-on bag the day before. And then you'll have plenty of time to think, oh, I need to take that too, and get it into the luggage. You're more likely to make good decisions and to not overpack if you spread it out over a few days as well. That way you can mull over what you're taking and talk yourself out of some things too on the back end. I think the shorter amount of time you have to pack, the more stress you feel and the less comfortable you are with the decisions you're making. And so you throw things in like, I can't decide, and therefore you throw more in the luggage. And so if you have time to think about it, you can make better decisions, right? And then you don't end up with 3 times as much as you need on the trip. I mean, I get the idea that you want to have choices, But those choices all make your luggage heavier and more irritating to manage. And so you need to think about your own body and how much, if the luggage doesn't have to weigh 50 pounds, I know it can weigh 50 pounds and still get on the plane. But if it doesn't have to weigh 50 pounds, then that's just that much less you have to pull around everywhere. Step 3, figure out what couple of pairs of shoes you'll need for this trip. Shoes take up so much luggage space. And if you have Ed's feet, they're like, they need their own piece of luggage just for his size, whatever, 13 shoes, or they're just massive. So shoes just take up a lot of space in luggage. And so it's silly to take different shoes for each outfit. You'll need twice the luggage because of the shoe variety. And it makes your bag so much heavier to haul, like I said. So skip the shoe variety. Just pick a pair of day shoes for walking around in and night shoes for going out somewhere. And if you're like my sister, you'll have a packed schedule of sightseeing or visiting, and you're going to be walking around way more than you do at home. So aim for comfortable over cute during the day. Absolutely. At night, you're likely going to be sitting down to dinner or an entertainment of some kind. And so you can have slightly cuter option for the nighttime, but you still want to aim for comfortable. If you pick those couple of pairs of shoes, you can wear one, right? The day variety you can wear on the plane. And then you only have to put the night variety in your luggage. And then the next step is to build the clothes that you're going to take around those shoes. So you picked a pair of shoes you're going to wear during the day. You're going to pick a pair of shoes you're going to wear at night. Now you can pull outfits that go with the shoe choices. I know that's backwards. Most people pick the clothes and then the shoes, but that's how you end up with 17 pairs of shoes in your luggage when you don't really need to take all those pairs with you. So pull those outfits and go with the shoes. And it may not be your absolute favorite clothes, but you can pull together looks that will work. Opt for less pants in terms of item count and more tops. So you can plan to wear each of your pants multiple times and just trade out the tops. And depending on the weather, you may need a coat or a jacket. So wear a coat on your travel day, and then you can pack one other item in the luggage and stop. Coats are in particular are way too bulky to have multiples on a trip. And so you wear one, and if you have to have another option, then it can go in the luggage and then you can be done. You want underwear for every day, plus one in case you have an issue someday. And then socks for every day if you're wearing shoes needing socks. Step 5, do not go crazy with jewelry. Just like shoes, pick items that can be worn more than once on a trip. And also don't travel with anything that you can't afford to lose accidentally. While your very fancy diamond necklace might look great, you'll be so upset if it gets lost while you're on your trip. So better to not worry about your special jewelry and leave it safe at home. And then pack other things that you can wear on your trip with the clothes. Step 6, unless you're staying one night in a hotel, get there and unpack your hanging clothes at least. For one night, you can live out of your suitcase, but for more than that, it's easier to get ready if you set up the bathroom and toiletries and hang up your clothes and put out your shoes. The rest you can leave in the suitcase if you want. I tend to leave the pajamas and bras and underwears in there, but I take out the toiletries and clothes and shoes. It just makes it easier for me to get dressed in the morning. You guys know I'm not a morning person, right? So I'm just trying to stage the hotel room for when I get up, and I'm a little bit not as
put together.
Yeah, not as my brain is not as working right quite yet. Yeah, on the trip in Minneapolis, I had to be up at 7, which is so not my time of day. 7 o'clock is awful. And try to get down, have breakfast at 8. Yeah, those numbers don't process in my head. I do not enjoy them. Step 7, remember that you're in a declutter training class right now. Travel is not an excuse to bring home a bunch of stuff that you would never buy at home to begin with. Pick your souvenirs carefully. Pick them for size and weight against what will fit in the luggage. Don't forget, you'll have to unpack those on the other end and put them somewhere. So keep that in mind while you're madly grabbing things to buy. I know we think we have to commemorate our trip with stuff, but I'm going to say maybe you don't. Maybe you just take some pictures and, buy one little magnet to go on the fridge or one postcard to show, the location where you were and move along. Like You don't need a bunch of extra stuff. I was just at somebody's house yesterday. Her job has her traveling all over the world, and so she is in lots of remote locations often. And we keep finding decor items as we're decluttering her kitchen. Oh, I got that from Egypt. Oh, I got that on my trip to, South Africa. Oh, that. And so she's bringing home objects, and then she gets them home and she's like, I'm not going to use that. And now we're donating. So she is watching herself declutter the clutter that she brought home from trips, and has said to me, oh, yeah, I probably shouldn't buy that stuff when I'm there. Yeah, you probably should not buy the stuff when you're there. You're going to go back and visit. You're going to remember. You have pictures. You don't need stuff. Step 8, don't forget to start your laundry a week in advance of the trip. You're going to want all of your favorite options available to pack. And there's really no time to wash something the night before you leave. I mean, yes, you can, but then you're just adding, 2 hours to your packing if you do it all the night of. So start the laundry the week before. No stress, very easy to do. You can spend whatever time you need to do the laundry and be happy with it. And then all of your favorite clothes, the clothes that you're recently wearing, the things that have actually gotten your attention, will be clean and ready to pack. It also means that the rest of your clothes are clean to wear when you come home with the luggage full of dirty clothes. So if you catch all your laundry up before you leave, not all of it's going to go with you on the trip, and the rest of it's going to be in the closet ready for you to wear, because you're going to come home with all your favorites dirty and they're going to need to do laundry. So you're going to need other things to wear. One other laundry trick that I use, if I'm visiting a family, I'll run a load of laundry at their house before I head home. It's easy enough to wash a load of clothes at Dad's house and not have so much to do when I get home. I've done that particularly at Christmas time when I'm there for 10 days or 2 weeks, and I've run through everything in my luggage at that point. It's not bad to like throw one load of clothes in and have reclaim all my underwear and my pajamas and things like that. It's not bad to do. Clearly, you can't necessarily do that in a hotel, but you can certainly do it if you're staying with a relative, right? So far I've made suggestions assuming that you're traveling by air, but you might be joining the millions of people who hit the road in their vehicles for vacation. Traveling by car gives you a little more breathing room in regards to packing. You still have to manage the luggage, though, as you stop along the way to stay in hotels. So bear in mind that what's in the car has to come out of the car every night when you stop. So don't overburden yourself with things to drag into and out of the hotel room every night. I have found that my tolerance and patience for pulling the luggage out of the car, rolling it into the hotel, rolling it down the long hallway to get to my room is super annoying to me now. So I do not want to be dragging 2 or 3 pieces of luggage to get into a hotel room at night. Just think about you're the beast of burden when it comes to the luggage. You're the one that has to haul the stuff around. So keep that in mind.
Well, and you either have to haul it around or you have to worry about it if you leave it in the car.
Yes,
It's
yes.
a car that's packed. If you've packed your car with everything that you could possibly imagine needing on your road trip, then your choice is either spend a whole lot of time schlepping luggage from the car to
In
the
and out.
hotel and back to the car, or hotel or motel or whatever, and then back to the car the next day or the next time you change hotels, or consider maybe not worrying about having every choice in the world available to you while you're on vacation. Try taking just enough,
Right? Or even
and
less than enough, and living with it.
yeah, just getting by, and allowing yourself to be surprised by what happens to you on the trip. Maybe there'll be more room for fun in your trip if your car isn't packed so full.
Right? Yeah, when I travel at Christmas time, it's easier for me because I can take gifts in the car. It's not such a hassle to get all that extra stuff that you have to take to exchange gifts is happening. So it makes it easier to be in the car and haul that stuff. But then, unloading at the other end is this massive undertaking. So just in terms of travel in general, we've had these conversations about minimalism and living with less and not having so many options. Or in terms of food, we've talked about you don't have to have all of your options available all the time. And you can have this kind of food today, this week, and next week when you go to the grocery store, you can buy something else. And so luggage is also one of those things where filtering it for what will work instead of making sure that you duplicate your closet in your luggage is a better way to go in terms of keeping up with it and not having it be hard to deal with.
I want to inject a comment here because it's on the subject of travel by car. Connie says, one thing to think about when traveling by car is what if the car breaks down?
Oh,
You
such
have
a
to
good
be,
point.
you have to take it all out and schlep it somewhere, or even
Yeah.
just, like you have to completely unpack the trunk to get at the spare tire.
Mm-hmm,
So
mm-hmm.
another argument in favor of
Going light.
only going on the, erring on the light side.
That is such a good comment because it happens. Cars break down. And, sometimes you have to get in the Uber and drive away from your car while they take your car away. So unpacking it all is a distinct possibility.
When I was in college in Dallas, we decided one fine weekend to hop in my car, which was a 1976 Chevy Impala, which is a land yacht. And 8 of my closest friends and I piled into the car
Oh my
and
goodness.
headed for Galveston for the weekend, which
Definition of a
is,
road trip.
about a 300-mile trip. And about halfway down, we blew out a tire. And
Oh,
so, in the dark on the side of the interstate, we had to unload 9 people's stuff from the trunk to get out the spare tire.
oh my God. So
And then
there was
we
just
had,
luggage along the highway.
yes, yeah,
I can see that in my mind's eye right now.
yeah, it was not pretty.
What a pain, right? Well, there you go. There's a testimonial for why you don't want to be doing that.
Well, and CJ added, this happened to us driving to Canada from the US before we needed a passport to drive, but needed it to fly. Totaled our overpacked SUV. It was a nightmare dealing with all our stuff that now needed to be schlepped across the border by a small car, then flown back home across the US.
Oh
Oh,
no, what a mess that must have been. Oh my goodness. Well, I'm glad you're here to tell the tale. If you totaled your SUV, that's awful.
oh,
But
terrible. Yeah.
there you go, right? Like then you like the solution to the problem was I have to take any car that I can get, and it sounds like it was too small and not available to be not a good choice for all the luggage you had with you. There you go. Yeah, see, you only have to live through those experiences once before you learn to modify your behavior. And the trick is to modify it without the traumatic experience.
CJ says no one injured, thankfully.
Oh, thank goodness. That's great.
Yeah.
I'm glad to hear it. Okay, so here's step 10. You might also be traveling by train this season. Wouldn't that be fun? In May last month, Amtrak actually had its highest month of readership in 50 years of business, which is astonishing to me. So, with all of the delays and cancellation of flights, I'm not surprised to hear that where a train's available, people are opting for that mode of transportation. If you decide to take a train, keep your luggage handling in mind. Here's same story. You still have to manhandle the luggage from the drop-off point to the platform and then onto the train. And you'll be hauling that luggage into place overhead yourself. There's no such thing as checked baggage on a train. You're less restricted in baggage. You can bring more and pay less for extra. But whatever you bring, you're going to have to manage yourself. So take that in mind when you're looking at the train option. I think it sounds like fun. And it's kind of a coastal thing, right? Like there's not a lot of passenger trains in the center of the country. They're
No,
more
but they're
up and down the coast, I think.
they are working on bringing them back, actually. Yeah,
Ooh,
Amtrak has some fairly substantial expansion plans. People
that's
they've
cool.
even talking about how high speed rail in Texas
Yeah, they've
from,
been talking about that for a long time, right?
yeah, we may not see it in our lifetime.
Right. But between Dallas and Houston, I think, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so trains are available and you have a little bit more breathing room, but you still have the luggage management problem that you do in a car. You can bring more, but then you got to manage it. And I've seen people, like I've ridden a train and watched people climbing up the steps to get onto the train and dragging, 3 pieces of luggage down the aisle behind them and thinking, that just looks like a bad idea. That's just too much to manage. Okay, so here's my last step for the conversation. Don't forget about unpacking when you're back. I'm never very fast about it. It's not my favorite thing to do, but here are some easy first steps for you. When I first get home, the first thing I do is I open the luggage and I take out the dirty laundry. And whether you go straight to the washer or not, maybe you're going to go to a hamper instead, but you can at least pull out everything you wore on vacation and put it in the hamper. In that moment what you wore and what you didn't. It's likely that most of what's in there is something that you wore. If you packed well, most of it will have been worn and is ready to go in the laundry. And that way you can get a whole lot out of the luggage in a big hurry. And it's just going to go straight to the laundry hamper or into the washing machine. That's a perfect first step for a piece of laundry. Come back the next day and pull out and hang up any clean clothes that didn't get used. And you want to do that quick before the dog or cat comes and sleeps on your oaken luggage, because they will. Could be putting some pet hair on your stuff. So we're going to hope that what is clean and needs to be hung up is a small subset of what you took in the luggage. And then it won't take very long for you to hang up the few things that didn't actually get used while you're on your trip. If it does take a long time, then you have to ask yourself whether you were successful in your packing or not. Noticing how much you had to put up that was clean and not worn. It's immediate feedback about what went into the luggage that really wasn't necessary. The day after that, you can pull out any shoes and put them away. And then finally come back another day and check on your carry-on luggage. Usually your carry-on pieces are smaller and they have more immediate things like snacks in them and the book you're reading and the report you were looking at and the electronics that you took on the trip.
And all the
There's
little
always some
scraps
more,
of paper that seemed so important at the time.
right? That it gets shoved into that carry-on.
Ticket stubs and all that.
Itineraries and
Right.
all that. Exactly. So that's going to be sort of the hot zone for things to throw away or things that need to be reintegrated in your life. It's likely that your AirPods and your favorite, electronic game console is in there somewhere. And so emptying that carry-on is really important. And I will tell you that I have found carry-on bags that, went into the closet 6 months ago when I'm at clients. And, I'll pull it out and there will be food in there. Long dead, mildewed, destroyed food, which you do not want to find when you pulled your carry-on luggage out for your next trip. So of all the unpacking that needs to be done, cleaning out the carry-on completely is super important because you will not remember that you shoved that half-eaten bar into the into the carry-on bag and didn't take it back out again. So you do not want to open up a bag and find half of a tuna sandwich in there later. It will not be good for you. That's what I'm saying. That is my list of steps. I'm hoping that's enough advice for you to get ready for a trip. And I hope that you go somewhere fun this summer season and enjoy getting ready and unpacking on the back end more because of these tips. And I'm waiting patiently to hear where everybody's going to go for the summer because I'm done for the summer. I'm not traveling until September, I think. So, and I went on one fun trip. The rest was business. So I want to hear about everybody's fun summer vacay plans.
We're hoping to meet up with a friend of Jaime's in Myrtle Beach for a short
Oh,
getaway, South
Myrtle
Carolina.
Beach will be nice.
Yeah, I've never been. My grandparents used to like going to Myrtle Beach.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, which is funny because there are all kinds of nice beaches in Maryland and Delaware, but they drove to
Where
South
was
Carolina when they really wanted to get away.
where was the beach that you and the family went a
That
few
was
years ago?
Fort
It,
Morgan, Alabama.
oh, in Alabama.
It's it's on a little peninsula that sticks out across the mouth of Mobile Bay,
Oh,
and
nice.
it's really nice, very secluded, and very, very, very dark at night. It's far enough from uh, Mobile and Pensacola, the only nearby cities, that it's darker in Fort Morgan at night than I like to get to have sky that to have it that dark. You'd have
Yeah.
to go about 50 miles out into the Gulf of Mexico from Galveston.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
it's
yeah.
really wonderful for stargazing. Like we could just go out and see the Milky Way at night.
Oh,
And
how nice.
both times we've been to Fort Morgan, we went in August, and so the I think it's the Perseid meteor shower that's in August, and
Ooh.
so we were able to just lie out on the deck and watch the falling stars, which is really cool,
Oh, how lovely. That sounds beautiful. Ooh, I want to do that. That sounds like a
right?
lot of fun.
So we have some comments.
Okay.
Rowan mentioned on CPAP water, you can buy small containers of sterilized water like hospitals use.
Oh,
Um,
okay. I didn't know that.
yeah, and
I'll
I
have to
don't know
ask
whether
her
you
about
have
that.
to. Yeah, I don't know whether that would require. I don't know if that's something you get just at an ordinary pharmacy or
Mm,
you need to go
you
to
have to special order it.
look for medical supply.
Mm.
Um, Anita said, I went through the, also on the CPAP topic, she said, I went through the distilled water safari, first for my husband and then for me. I finally invested in a travel CPAP and it was definitely worth it. No water to find, just some little quarter-sized cartridges that recycle the water in your breath. Heaven.
Oh, I have heard about that. And Karen has actually said to me, well, they do have a travel version and
She just
she just
hasn't
hasn't
pulled the
pulled the
trigger on it.
trigger yet. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, but how great to get out of you don't have to chase down the water game. That's awesome.
Yeah. Um, M said, I remember reading a book on building the ideal wardrobe in which the author built the wardrobe from the shoes up.
There you go. And I think that's the best way to travel. Because we all have our favorite outfits and they all have special shoes. But if you pick all those favorite outfits and you have to take 6 pairs of shoes, you got to have another piece of luggage to shoes in. It's just super annoying. And they're too heavy. So doing it for travel, like at home, you don't have to worry about it. But for travel, it's better to start with the shoes and go from there. And that way you're going to set a color palette that way. Like I'm wearing these black shoes, therefore I don't want to have all this white stuff. Like it'll dictate your color choices too, based on what shoes you pick. So it's a good way to help narrow down your packing and not make your luggage too heavy.
Connie recommends taking along a laundry bag, and she says a big plastic trash
Ooh,
liner does well.
that's a great idea. So you can, as you wear things and they're dirty, you can throw them into the bag and it doesn't matter at that point whether they're folded nicely or not. And then that bag is just going to end up in the luggage. And then it'll be easy when you're unpacking. You go grab the bag and take it out. Exactly. And that goes straight to the hamper. So I like it. That's a good plan.
Linda says, I have a packing list, which helps me feel certain that I have what I need without carrying extra stuff I don't need. I
All right.
developed the list over several trips and adjust it depending on type of trip. Although I'm not a minimalist, I travel as a minimalist with a small carry-on bag only, no check bag.
Yeah, I usually am checking a bag because I don't want to manage it in the plane. As a person that always picks an aisle seat on the plane and everybody's rolling down the aisle, I basically lean like this the whole time people are boarding the plane because I'm getting whacked with backpacks and carry-ons and things swinging off of people's arms. And it's like, oh, I find it so annoying. Carry-ons just annoy me to no end. So I know everybody thinks it's super clever to go on and take it and not lose control of their luggage. I get it, but I find it very annoying. And I don't want to roll my piece of luggage through the airport and manage it myself. I want to hand it off to somebody to deal with. So There you go.
We've talked about packing lists before. They really are a great idea. Creating checklists, um,
Mm,
especially because you know you we tend to carry so many electronics, and you have to make sure you have enough power supplies to charge everything you're taking,
right,
and
right, right.
or spare batteries if you're still using something battery powered, or all of that. Um,
Yeah.
M says my mother kept lists and she let's see, keeping her lists inside the luggage, a list for each type of trip and season.
Yeah, isn't that a great idea? I mean, and, you know, lists just make you feel more comfortable, right? Then you just run down the list and check things off. And um, you can refine it at the end of every trip. I took this, but I didn't need it. Oh, that didn't make sense actually. You know, you think that you have to have stuff, and so you add it to the list, and then your experience tells you that you got by without it, or you use something else instead of it. And so you can constantly be refining the list based on what your actual experience was as you took the travel. So lists are a great way to reduce anxiety. And you know, I talk about this, and I have had many clients who find preparing for a trip severely anxiety inducing. They get very distressed about it, and they're only able to get ready if I come and help them pack. And so it was in particular something that I did with Robin all the time. Every time she went somewhere, I had to go over there and help her pack because she worried about, she took a lot of medications, and Robin has since passed away, so I'm not speaking out of turn. But she would take a whole bunch of medication with her that she needed, and she worried a lot about having everything against all the possibilities that might occur. And yet she felt too anxious to feel like she could get all that in the luggage. And the process of packing the luggage didn't relieve her anxiety. It just increased her anxiety. And so it was something that I had to help her do all the time when she was trying to go somewhere, was to make sure that everything she wanted got in the luggage, and thinking through all of her choices and what would be necessary. And it was a really stressful process for her. And I have had that experience with other clients as well. Some people just find the idea of getting ready for a trip really, really distressing, which is why I opened with the concept of think about where you're going. Unless you're going on safari, unless you are, you know, even if you're going on a cruise ship, there's there's a doctor on the ship, there's a medical facility on the ship. Like, you don't have to have every possibility with you on the trip. And there's, you know, and you're not going to be on the trip for forever. So if you don't have something you need, you're only going to be without it for a week or 10 days anyway. So who cares? It's just, it's a process of recognizing that wherever you are, most of the time you can solve the problem. You don't have to get the packing 100% right in order to have a good time, to be dressed while you're on the trip, to have the stuff that you need medication wise. It'll be okay. If you have to, you know, go out to a pharmacy and take an Uber to go to the pharmacy to get something, it'll be okay. And, you know, you can always start with the hotel. A lot of the times the hotel is going to have something. Is it the most cost effective? No, but you're on vacation. So no, they'll be expecting it to be the most cost effective option, but you can recover if you forget something that you then declare is important to have in the moment without too much effort on almost any trip.
Here's a tip from Kathy. She
Mm.
says, I saved my worst underwear, mended them one last time, and then threw them away each day. I took along little
Ooh,
plastic bags, and it was no worse than leaving behind Depends or kids' diapers, and I had room for one or two souvenirs.
there you go. Isn't that clever? I've
Other
actually
people
heard
have,
that one before.
yeah, people have mentioned that before, like, taking along your tattered t-shirts and the stuff that's just about ready to throw away, the stuff that's not even good enough to donate, and then just leave them
Is
behind once they're dirty.
I love the idea of taking the bad underwear along for one last adventure before you throw it
Right?
out.
It has served you well. It deserves to go out on a high note.
It
right,
gets to go on vacation before it dies.
right. I
I think
left,
that's
I
so
left,
funny.
I left my worn out pair of underwear in Ibiza.
Ibiza, there you go. That's
Um,
special.
Wolf says, I pack for the coming apocalypse.
Oh,
And I think I've said before in previous travel related episodes that I used to joke about how we would go to Galveston for the weekend. And for those who aren't familiar, Galveston is the Gulf of Mexico town that
beach.
is the beach town that is about 50 miles from down the road from Houston. And I used to joke that we would go to Galveston with the weekend for the weekend with more stuff than my grandparents brought with them when they crossed the Atlantic. You know,
Yes, I
we would
know.
pack the car for every possible eventuality. You know, like will we spend a day drinking on the beach? Will we go boating? Will we take the ferry? Will we go to a fancy restaurant?
Oh
And
my
then
gosh.
and then every weekend we ended up doing pretty much the same thing, which was hanging out on the beach and then occasionally popping into the bar that had a pool in the backyard. And it turns out I could have managed with, one outfit and a
A tenth of
swimsuit,
what you packed.
right? Yeah.
Well, and I will say that you are, as a cook, you're handicapped because
Right. I usually did
you
bring
always
along
want
the
your own
kitchen.
kitchen gear, right? So you
Yeah.
were packing the kitchen in the back of the car as well. And so there was a whole lot of stuff we had to haul up to the kitchen when we went to that beach house.
Right.
And it was a lot of extra. Now, we ate really well because, Ed was cooking for us. So we got great food out of the trip, but that
But
was part of your enjoyment, right?
you just don't know whether they're going to have the brand of truffle oil you like at your destination grocery store. Right.
Right. Says Mr. Picky Cook, right?
Wolf goes on to say, I have to have a bunch of stuff in my carry-on between medical stuff, techie stuff that you shouldn't put in luggage, and a few basics like a single change of clothes in case luggage is delayed or lost, etc.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's a really good idea if you're going to have multiple connections on your travel, especially if you're traveling internationally.
Hmm.
Um, Make sure you have at least a spare pair of undies and a spare t-shirt in your carry-on in case your luggage goes somewhere other than where you're
Sideways
going.
in
Yeah.
case it goes to a different vacation.
And I've told that story. I won't tell that story again at length here, but I'll
Yeah.
just summarize and say when I went to Japan, my luggage went to Thailand for the first 5 days of my 8-day trip.
Yep, and there it was. You were washing the underwear in the sink.
Right. Let's see what
And
else.
there was no way for you to buy clothes because no
Right.
one in Japan was your size.
Anita comments, I invested in suitcase shelves which hang on a closet rod, but make all
Oh,
your folded clothes visible and easily accessible. These also compress your clothes when zipped up into a flat pack. I've noticed that more and more hotels have no drawers, only hanging space.
mm-hmm. It's true. But I've seen those luggage cubes that just sort of come out and hang on something, and
Right.
then there's little cubbies basically that are connected with, and you have clothes in them.
Little,
So
yeah, like little cardboard shelves
yeah,
or
great idea.
rigid plastic.
That makes it quick, easy in and out, is doesn't it? That's like super fast packing. So that's great.
Lisa
Yeah,
Beth
yeah.
says, it takes a couple of days to comfortably drive to my son's in Mississippi. I
Mm.
pack a beach bag, a necessity bag, a small suitcase for the one night stays, and my rolling one for the length of the visit there.
There you go. So you've got luggage based on the stage of the travel that you're in. So you got the overnight one while you're on the road, and then you've got another one when you actually arrive. That's clever. That's a clever
Yeah.
subsetting of your luggage. I like that.
Yeah, to
I
not
think
have to
that
to
plans
not have to
better.
take the heavy rolling one out for the one night in a hotel along the way.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I think that's an excellent plan. Now you do have to worry about making sure the luggage isn't visible while you're
Right.
parked in the parking lot overnight. But if you can, put it in the trunk and lock it in and don't worry about it, then I think
Yeah.
that's a
Or if
good
you,
that's a good adaptation. I like it.
Catherine says, recall back in 60s and 70s, finger hut luggage, small, medium, and large, trying to handle those without rollers or connecting luggage easily to roll. Isn't it
I
funny that rolling luggage came along so late in history? You know?
Yeah, it's true. And I often am dragging my rolling luggage along the airport and, thinking in my head, oh, this is so, and then I immediately think, yeah, back in the day, people had luggage with handles and they were holding them and hauling them in their hands. And how miserable that must have been for anyone that was trying to travel. And they're holding two or pieces of luggage, one in each hand as they go walking down the jetway. So, ew. Thank God we have rolling bags. At least we've improved to that point.
Some more tips from D. D says, I have a small bedside zip top clear bag that I keep charging cords, travel alarm, small flashlight, small hand lotion, and lip balm, small pack of tissues, etc. in. I tape the list of what should be inside the bag on the bag so I don't leave things like cords behind when leaving a hotel. I
Yeah,
also
it's a
bring a
good thing to
few
check for that.
I also bring a few thin sandwich bags to use as TV remote control covers since the remotes rarely get cleaned. That's a good tip.
Ooh, that's a good tip. That's a
Yeah.
very good tip. I like that one. Super easy to use and then throw out, right? Excellent. You guys are seasoned travelers, I can tell. You guys have some great ideas. I always want to be not like I lean on the side of staying up late anyway. And if my packing isn't done and I'm packing the night before, that just means I'm staying up extra late to finish the packing and then traveling exhausted the next day. And so
Yeah.
I really try to follow my own advice here and get my packing done in a reasonable amount of time so I can actually have a night's sleep before I travel. It makes it, you're going to encounter all sorts of disruptions and irritations along the way. Better you do that on a full night's sleep instead of a reduced
Yes.
night's sleep. You will cope better when they send you a message that says, oh, by the way, your plane's delayed. You're leaving at 1 o'clock in the morning instead.
Randy added, I love the idea of keeping the list in the bag so everything gets back. And that is a really good point about the value of packing lists is the list not only make sure you take everything that you need to take with you, but that you
Yeah.
bring it all home again at the end.
Yeah. You don't forget to grab it out of the hotel room. Yeah. Or leave it at your sister's house. Or it
Right?
doesn't do you any good there either. I'm having
M
trouble
commented,
today.
I had to travel with 4 pets across country several times.
Oh,
That adds another dimension to car travel, part of which is training the pets so that they are safe.
right. And don't get escape or get hurt. I actually packed a car for a client who was moving from Houston to live with her son in California. So they were going to drive across the country. And he flew there to get into their car. And I guess it was his mother's car that they were driving. And so we had to pack it with all the stuff that she didn't want the movers to take, plus cats. And let me tell you, that car was full to the gills by the time they got into that car. I was just like, this is going to be a miserable 3 days. I'm so sorry for y'all. It was going to be bad. And there was so much they were going to have to unload at the hotel. And I just remember looking at the car and thinking, oh my God, really? You're going to be so unhappy at the other end.
Rowan shared, in London, I had a huge suitcase, and a man who is homeless said to me that I didn't need to bring so much stuff because there's a laundrette down the street.
Nothing like getting called out by the homeless guy on the curb at
Right?
the airport. That's funny. And his advice was absolutely correct. That's awesome.
Niz
Well,
said, Niz commented, years ago, I traveled all around in France carrying 3 huge suitcases without wheels and up and
oh,
down an enormous amount of stairs, especially
stairs,
in
right?
subways.
Oh,
Yeah.
what a nightmare that must have been. I can't even imagine. I just, your poor hands must have been destroyed by the time the trip was over. That sounds awful. Well, on
Uh,
that note, we should get to the tittle because it's 5 till.
Yeah, let's talk about next week too.
Okay.
Oh, and actually, before that, a special announcement. We want to send out a special thank you to Zoe for becoming our newest Patreon supporter. If
Patreon.
you would
Hi, Zoe.
If you'd like to help support our efforts with recurring monthly donation, please visit cfhou.com/Patreon, Patreon. Your contributions help us offset the cost of producing the weekly webcast and will help us fund new projects that we have in the works. Thank you for your support, Zoe, and all our generous underwriters.
I appreciate you so much. Zoe's actually a client of mine. She doesn't live here, and so we've worked virtually before, and I really appreciate her joining us on the podcast with a Patreon donation. Thank you so much.
I want to remind everyone that we'll be back for our next webcast on Tuesday, June 25th at noon U.S. Central Time. We're going to talk about daily rituals and routines, and particularly, do your stuff and your space support making every day as productive and satisfying as you'd like it to be? I don't have a title for it yet, so watch your email for that. Gayle, why don't you give us the tittle?
This weekly tittle is called The Leader of the Pack, which is hilarious. This week's assignment is to assess the state of readiness of your luggage in anticipation of your next trip. So pull out of storage your suitcases, carry-ons, totes, backpacks, or any other containers you expect to use the next time you travel. Remove all of the old baggage claim tags and inspect the pieces and make sure the handles, the zippers, the straps, all the closures are in good working order. And I will tell you, in addition to the baggage claim tags, go looking for all of the stuck-on stickers that are basically putting a barcode on your luggage so that the luggage can be tracked. It's better to take all those extra barcodes off so that when you go on this next trip, you only have one barcode for the trip you're actually on. And they don't have to like scan through a bunch of other ones that don't have anything to do with what you're doing. You've already taken all those. So get all that stuff off of the luggage. Make sure all the items are securely tagged or labeled with your current address and contact information. You do want them to be able to have your phone number and have your address if you go to Japan and your luggage goes to Thailand. They need to have your phone number to be able to call you and contact you later and say, we found your luggage in Thailand and we're shipping it back. So you want them to be able to contact you. Unpack anything that you left in the luggage after the previous trips, like the half-eaten tuna sandwich. You don't want that to still be in there. So get it out.
If you find a half-eaten tuna sandwich when you're getting ready for your next trip, you're probably going to have to make time to replace that piece of luggage.
or if it's soft-sided, to wash it, right? Yeah, I have. But I have found, I often find cough drops and food, half-eaten food in luggage when I'm helping people unpack. So it's definitely something you got to check for. If your trip's coming up soon, stage your luggage in an out-of-the-way location so that you can start receiving items that you're ready to pack. If you do that soon, if you do that with enough lead time, you put it out a week in advance, like while you're starting the laundry, then you can, as you see things and think, oh, I need to take that on a trip, and you can take it that minute and go run it and throw it in the luggage. You may not be actually packing the luggage in that moment, but you can take things to the staging area where your luggage is as you think of it throughout the week. Review and refresh your toiletry kit. So you want to take out expired medications and expired personal care products and replace or refill those travel size bottles of products that you want to take with you. I always advocate that you put into a toiletry kit, like permanently have all of the products that you normally use so that you're not undoing your bathroom with large bottles and taking those large bottles on the trip. You want to have a secondary small subset of those products in your luggage, in your toiletry kit. And so you don't have to undo your bathroom to travel. So aim for that and refresh and refill those now before you're going on your trip. And then if you're not planning any leisure travel this summer, I'm sad for you. And take time this week to plan some kind of staycation for your family, or a spa day, or an in-town self-care retreat for yourself. Do something that is rewarding and kind to you in place of getting to travel this summer. And then when you've done all that, come and tell us all about it. Come and let us know how it goes.
Okay, one more great comment from Connie that I want to share because it's a terrific suggestion.
Okay.
Connie says, I have a list of all the things to do in our apartment before we leave. So while you're making checklists, make that checklists, things like, close the blinds, close the drapes, adjust the thermostat.
Yes.
If you have a fridge or freezer that doesn't always reliably stay closed, tape the door shut, things like that. Whatever you need to do to make sure your home is in good condition when you get back to it.
Right.
That's a great checklist to make.
Check the locks, make sure all the doors and windows are locked, that kind of stuff. Yeah.
All right. If you're watching this on YouTube, we would love for you to join us live. To get notifications about upcoming events, we invite you to join the meetup group by visiting cfhou.com/meetup. You can also follow us on Facebook by visiting cfhou.com/Facebook, or join our mailing list by visiting cfhou.com/subscribe. We love to hear from you, so please keep your comments, questions, and topic suggestions coming on YouTube, Facebook, or anywhere that you find us. You can always reach us through our website at clutterfairyhouston.com.
Thank you so much for joining us this week to talk about travel. It helped me decompress from a really stressful 6 weeks, so it was a good topic for me to cover at this point. It was all very fresh in my mind, actually, so I appreciate the opportunity to talk to you about traveling, and I will see you guys next week. Bye.
Bye-bye.